Hey guys, this week we are talking about our recent trip to Vegas, Buddy V's Italian restaurant, Lewis Black, and so much more, so stick around. This episode is sponsored by Fiverr. Looking to turn your next big idea into a reality? Visit crapvegas.com/Fiverr to learn more.
Welcome to the Crap Vegas podcast.
Vegas, here we come.
Vegas!
Here are your hosts, Chris and Josh.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 62 of the Crap Vegas podcast. I am Chris. He's Josh. Josh, what's going on?
There's a lot going on around here. School is starting up this week. Chris, you guys already started, right? You guys start early.
Oh, yeah, we started 2-3 weeks ago at this point.
Yeah, so school's starting up for us this week. It's a brand new school, so there's all that going on. Chris and I are just recently back from Vegas, so that's still on my mind. I'm already excited for probably my next trip is going to be Zorkfest, so I'm getting excited for that. So there's just a ton going on, nothing like earth-shatteringly exciting. How about you?
Yeah, nothing big here. It's the official start of high school football season here now.
Oh, that's big in your neck of the woods, isn't it?
It is, but at the same time, I never really cared in the past. The only reason I care now is because my daughter's on the dance team for one of the schools, so she expects me to come out every Friday to watch the game that she's dancing at. So I guess I'm going to see a lot of high school football this year?
Well, I mean, maybe that'll be entertaining. I don't know.
No, probably not. But I am excited to at least support her and make her feel, glad to have somebody in the stands for her. So that's exciting. But other than that, no, still just swamped at work. And yeah, trying to figure out when I'm going to get back out to Vegas, because I really do want to get out there sometime in the next 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And the best I can come up with is late September, early October, but I still can't even put a date to it yet.
Well, you'll figure out something. I know you will.
I will.
I had a trip on early September trip coming up. I actually still have it booked, but I was just telling one of our listeners, I think the chances of me making it are not great. There's just too much going on in life right now, and I've got to save up for Zorkfest.
Well, you can't be spending a ton of money at Zorkfest, Josh. I won't be there. You need to save all your funds for our next big trip together.
I know, that's the problem, is Zorkfest is taking one of our trips away.
It is, and we got to figure out when that's going to be, because I keep getting messages from people asking when is our November trip-ish sort of date for the golf trip that we're going to be giving away a free round of golf at Wynn. And I keep telling them we haven't set a date. I will get with Josh, and I keep failing to do so.
Yes, we'll set a date.
We'll get it worked out. But Josh, let's tell people how to get a hold of us. You can reach us via email. That is podcast@crapvegas.com. You can join us on our Facebook group. That's always a lot of fun. It's crapvegas.com/Facebook. You can leave us a voicemail. That's crapvegas.com/voicemail. Or the easiest way is always going to be on Twitter.
X.
He's at Vegas Duffy. I'm at Small Whale 13. Or the show page is at Crap Vegas.
And Chris, I know that you don't get on the Facebook group quite as much as you probably should for one of the hosts of the show that has the Facebook group named after
right in the middle of the recording, huh?
But I get on as much as I can, and it's really fun to see how the Facebook group is growing. And, somebody will post a question or a thought or a trip report or things like that, and I'll see, 17 responses or 25 responses. And so it's great to see as the group is growing. It's great to see the interaction, because Chris and I want this to be a forum for all of our listeners to interact with each other, and we'll chime in occasionally, and don't be offended if we miss a post or forget to like something or things like that. It's really for you guys to engage. And as you know, we pull some of the questions that you have, and they make their way onto the show. It's one of the easiest ways for us to not lose track of questions that people have as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I have said that I'm going to get on there more and more, and I always forget. But I do try at a minimum, at least once a week, try to jump on there, give any comments that I have or questions that are directed to me. And if you have something that you do actually want my response on directly, just tag me. It will shoot me an email, let me know that you tagged me, and I'll hop on there and answer the question.
Yeah,
so,
that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've got our great moderators, Sean and James, who will also oftentimes flag us, tell us if there's something that we missed that we should jump in on and things like that too.
Absolutely. So yeah, we'll talk to you guys over there. Okay, Josh, previous episode feedback. We received an email from Eric. He said, "Gentlemen, I was listening to your discussion about having a very profitable blackjack session versus the break-even crap session, and I was surprised to hear you prefer a break-even crap session. That is a lot of money to be turning down, Isn't that the whole point of gambling? Anyways, love the show and appreciate all you guys do. Eric.
Yeah, Eric, I know exactly what you're saying, and I struggled with that as we were answering that question. I mean, 5K is 5K. And Chris's point that he made, which is it depends on what percentage of your bankroll that is for it to make a difference. I mean, if somebody's buying in for $250,000, 5K is probably not going to move the needle much. But for most of us, I think 5K is a big deal. And I think probably realistically, we would take that over breaking even at craps, even though that's more fun.
Yeah, you say that, but I'm not 100% sure that I would. I mean,
Money
Josh,
be damned for Chris.
The only thing in Eric's
That's why
email
we call
that
you Mr. Fun. You're just about the fun.
That's
not
what
the
everybody
money,
says
right?
about me. Yeah. No, the only thing I took exception with in Eric's email is he said, isn't that the whole point of gambling, to make money? And I disagree with that. I don't think that's the whole point of gambling. At least in my opinion, it shouldn't be the point of gambling because gambling is always a losing proposition long term. So for me, the whole point of gambling is it's a thing that I like to do that I enjoy. It's a hobby. It's just something fun where I call it expensive entertainment is what I always refer to it as. I never go into a gambling session expecting to win.
No.
And if I do, that's great. So the idea of having an amazing crap session where I break even, that sounds great to me. And yeah, having $4,000 or $5,000 extra would be great, but I can give that back on a craps table in about 10 minutes. So it's really not that big of a deal to me.
I know what you mean. I mean, the reason, like, I agree with Chris completely in this. We're not gambling to make money. I try and do the exact same thing. Every trip we go, I say I'm going to blow through my bankroll and it's going to be gone. And if it's not, that's a victory. But for the gambling, it's the dopamine rush of you might win and you might lose. It goes both ways. Like,
oh, sure. It wouldn't feel so good to have those big wins if those losses didn't hurt so much.
Yeah, exactly.
It just wouldn't.
Right.
So anyways, you got to have both sides of it. But thank you for the email, Eric. We do appreciate it. We received an email from Amber. Amber said, Chris and Josh, love the discussion about playing at higher level properties. It's one of the main reasons I love your show. Places like Wynn, Bellagio, etc. aren't places I could afford to play right now, but I'm hoping that changes at some point in the future. It's fun living vicariously through your trip. Out of curiosity, and I'm sorry if you've already answered this, where would you recommend a lower roller played for the best experience on the strip at, say, $10 crap tables? Are there any value properties that offer the same level of experience of what you'd get at something like Wynn? Thanks, Amber.
Thanks, Amber. I think Chris and I are probably going to have the same answer to your question. And I'm going to say Planet Hollywood. I think Chris and I both like Planet Hollywood. I'm going to be staying there during Zorkfest. I like it that much. I think the rooms are fine. They're obviously not super nice, but I think they're comfortable. They're very functional. I like the casino floor. It's good dining options, especially when you throw in the Miracle Mile shops. Very close to Bally's and Paris. And you can find, you're not going to find $10 craps very often, but I think you can find down to $10 craps sometimes still early in the morning and hopefully get grandfathered in, that kind of thing, but at least 15. And there aren't many places on the strip that I think we would recommend anymore that you're going to find $10 regularly. I think even Excalibur, Luxor level, you're going to find 15 for the most part. So 10 is going to be tricky, but it's nice to hear what you said about us being high rollers and living vicariously through us and that kind of thing. We try and make it fun for you guys to hear about some of the things we get to do. We know not everybody gets to play at that level, so we try and do interesting things that might be fun for you to hear about and maybe get some ideas about things you can do too.
Yeah, and it's not specific to you. Josh and I have the same sort of excitement reading stories or listening to people that are far bigger gamblers than us and what they're doing. So, I mean, the same excitement can be had. It's more about just, what am I not seeing? What do I not get to see yet?
Right.
So hearing about that can be a lot of fun. And no additional thoughts on the property there. I think Planet Hollywood is a terrific choice. That's probably what I would have said if Josh didn't chime in first. And yeah, I mean, finding $10 tables on the strip, that is pretty darn tough. But you know what? You can even find $15 tables at Wynn during the week. So if you don't mind bumping up a little bit and maybe just poking your head in midweek in the morning, maybe you can play there with those amazing crews.
That's true too.
Finally, Josh, we received an email from Anthony. Anthony said, guys, I just wanted to send you a thank you for some of your recent Vegas recommendations. I went and saw Matt King last week on my trip, and it was absolutely fantastic. He is hilarious and engaging, but also a really good magician. I also had dinner at Delmonico with my wife, and it was our favorite steak dinner we had had in Vegas. Chris wasn't kidding about the banana pie. That thing was ridiculous. It is, by the way, Josh. You have to try it sometime. It is so good. Anyways, what shows are you guys excited to try soon that you haven't seen yet? Love the show, Anthony.
Well, Anthony, thanks for the comments. Yeah, Matt King, not going to go on about it. Really fantastic show. And you guys know we love Delmonico. We didn't eat there on the last trip. We'll talk about where we ate instead. This coming up in just a little bit. But Delmonico is fantastic. Chris, I'm just not a banana pie guy.
I don't care, Josh. I don't care. I don't know if you don't even have to like bananas. It's that good.
I remember being in New Orleans years ago and going to whatever famous place it is, Brennan's maybe, that has like bananas Foster that everybody raves about. And it just wasn't my thing. I like Hurricanes, the drink, because they're kind of pink. So it's perfect. But
perfect for you.
Yeah. Banana pie, not so much.
I will die on this hill. That is the best dessert I have ever had. You all need to go try it. Pretty soon they'll be calling it the CV Chris special or something.
There we go. Get a discount. Promo code.
Promo code banana. Anyways, shows that we haven't seen that we want to see. The only thing that's in my mind, and I'm a little concerned to see it because I'm afraid I'm going to be let down or it may just not fit with what I like in a show, is not X Rocks, because I've seen all of those. I think they're all terrible. The whole X series. Don't get me wrong. I love burlesque shows. We've reviewed multiple burlesque shows on this show, but it's just, I don't like those series. I think they're all terrible. But that being said, Josh, the only one I haven't seen that I want to see is Disco Show, but I'm concerned because of the format of the show, if it's really going to be enjoyable for like you and I to go together.
Right.
Because there's no seats. You're standing and literally dancing the whole time. I hear the soundtrack's amazing. I don't know how that works with like drinks and stuff. Do you have drinks on the floor? Do you not have drinks because there's nowhere to like sit down your drink or anything? I just don't understand the logistics. So normally I'd say I want somebody else to go see it and then fill me in on if it's something I'd like. But I feel like it's kind of our job, Josh, to go see this and give our review with no like predetermined notions of the show or anything.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to at some point. I know that one didn't even cross my mind. For me, even though I've seen it before, it was a long time ago, but I would say Caw. Just so many people really are saying, Josh, you need to give Caw another chance. I didn't like it when I saw it, but that was 12 years ago or something. So
I didn't like it either when I saw it, Josh. So we're not going in with the best mindset on that, but maybe we can try that again next time we're out there. But I think we need to bite the bullet and see Disco Show.
I do
and
too.
And just give an honest review of it.
I agree. That'll be fun. Or Awakening 4.0.
Have they not closed that yet?
I'm sure you saw it too, but getting off the air, and you go down in towards the trams at the Las Vegas airport, and there's the ads. The Awakening ads are still everywhere. They're spending so much money.
They've been doing that for a year.
Yeah.
I mean, they have like 90% of the signs at the airport right now. I mean, they're trying. Their marketing dollars are not getting good use, but I mean, they're trying their hardest. I don't know. I'm surprised it's still open at this point, but I think it's really, they just don't want to admit they were wrong and that this was a failure, so they just keep it going.
Yep. I mean, you know, give enough seats away. The theaters look mostly full.
Yeah, I guess. They're not making money on it, but that's okay.
Wynn's got plenty.
So thank you all for your feedback this week. Let's keep moving. Okay, so we just got back from a trip to Vegas. I was there for a couple days. Josh was there for a couple months, so he's got some completely different experiences than me. But we have a lot to talk about on this recent trip, Josh.
Yeah, it was a great trip, and cutting to the end, I think both Chris and I finished in the black.
We did.
Which is rare, especially for me, given that I was there for a couple extra days. So that was fun. So, Chris, let's start out with, I like to go chronologically in these things.
Yeah, that's very important to us.
Always have, always will, as much as we can. We forget certain things and get dates mixed up and things like that. But what I do know is both of our flights, well, your flight was delayed. My flight had its own mini disaster in that we ran out of vodka on the flight.
Oh, wow, Josh. I'm not even sure how you're still here. I mean, something that tragic. How horrible.
As someone that likes to have 2 or 3 drinks on the plane to kind of get me through the flight, I mean, it flies much smoother with drinks in you than it does when you don't have them. So that was hard.
So I'm just going to say this, Josh. A while back, I started switching a lot of my flights over to United. I was trying them. I've talked about it on the show.
Right.
The product that they offer is not nearly as good as what I'm used to on Delta. But at the exact same time, they have very good flight offerings for me because their hubs are in better locations. So for me, I can fly from Louisville to Denver and then Denver to Vegas, which makes a hell of a lot more sense than flying up to Minneapolis or all the way down to Atlanta to come to Vegas. It just, you save a lot of time. They're shorter connections, which makes it easier and less wasted time. It just makes sense. That being said, you pay for it every single time with issues that happen on the flights, tons and tons of delays. And I got just punished this weekend. Got to Denver. My next flight was an hour away. And of course, it gets delayed 2.5 hours. Coming home, we'll talk about it. I had a gigantic fiasco trying to get home. I couldn't even fly on United to get home. Yeah, I think I might be done, Josh. I'd gone down that path. I did the status match thing. I want to support them, but I can't because their product is garbage.
Yeah, I haven't flown. United isn't a big carrier in the Seattle area, so it just doesn't come up that I fly them very much. I mean, to Vegas, it's either Alaska or Delta, and lately it's been a lot of Delta for me. I've been really happy with that, except for the vodka thing. But so Chris and I were supposed to get in about the same time. He started this rolling delay and ended up about an hour and a half, 2 hours, something behind me.
Something, yeah.
When I got to Venetian, so we were at Venetian actually at Palazzo for this part of the trip. When I got to our check-in area, we can check in, in the VIP lounge. I got there, and the first thing she said is she pulled up my reservation, and Chris, yours was attached to it in some way, and said, I have you and Chris in adjoining, and then she kind of stopped herself and said, rooms on the same floor.
Oh, good. And we've talked about that. We don't need adjoining rooms. We're good.
I like the guy, but we don't need it.
Some space is appreciated. Right. Yeah.
I don't want a connecting room necessarily with Chris. But then she said, I have you. Your guest is doing a late checkout. The person that has your room is doing a late checkout, and that person will be out by 2. And Chris's person is going to be out by 4. And I said, well, definitely give me the 2. Save the 4 for Chris.
Yeah, which I was not very happy about, to say the least.
Well, because it wasn't 4.
Oh, no, it was nowhere near 4 by the time it was all said and done. Josh, we've talked about it before. This is the one thing that Wynn does better than anybody.
They really do.
When a host knows that you're coming, your room is ready no matter what time your flight gets in. I don't care if you're arriving at 7 a.m. or noon or whatever it is. Your room is ready. You do not wait. It may not be an ideal room. It may be on a low floor with the wrong view. And they'll tell you that as soon as you go to check in. Hey, we have a room on the 16th floor ready for you. It's a strip view. Or if you want to wait a little bit, we can do better. And Josh sometimes will actually wait to get a better room.
And then never open the windows.
And then never open the windows. But they're good about that. On the other hand, Aria, Venetian, they just don't do it. They give you, and what's even worse is they pre-assign you rooms well before you arrive.
Right.
And so if your specific room happens to be delayed for whatever reason, somebody checking out late, some sort of maintenance issue, you could wait forever, even though there are probably the same room type available.
Yeah. And in this case, coming to their defense a little bit, so a lot of Venetian suites are down right now because they're renovating. So the reason we stayed at Palazzo, although I'm happy we did, the reason we stayed at Palazzo was because the suites that we get were not available on the Venetian side. So it's possible that their suite inventory was really constricted when we were there, which was part of the issue. But Chris is right. I had the same issue at Sky Suites when I went over to Aria, my room, even though I had told them I tried Chris's trick and I tried checking in and saying I was going to be there at 10 a.m., but my room still wasn't ready until 3 or 3:30, something like that. So while we were waiting for our rooms, Chris and I decided to do kind of what's become one of our favorite things at Palazzo, is to go to the high limit room and play some high limit crapless. So we just took our bags in there, put them against the wall, and jumped into crapless craps. We had a really nice first session.
Yeah, it was a great way to start the trip. Josh had a really nice roll when we were at that table. I believe that you made them all while we were doing that.
I did, yeah.
It was just a great roll, tons of extreme numbers. They have, I'll tell you, Josh, I love Wynn Cruise, and I still think Wynn Cruise are the best. But the crew that Palazzo has in the high limit room,
it's a great crew.
They're a close second.
Yeah.
There's some weaker links to it occasionally, but for the most part, just a really, really solid crew back there that is a ton of fun to play with. Definitely want to call out Byron and Michelle as two people that I just really like. Max is back there as well. Just really good group. The boxes are excellent back there. They go out of their way to make sure you have whatever you need. We just had a great time playing back there.
good drink service too. In fact, we a couple times had the bartender. We sat at the video poker bar there. Great service at the bar there. It's a really nice space. And yeah, Chris, the crews that we've had there, we'll talk about them, but the crews that we had overall were great. But the crews in that Palazzo High Limit Room are fantastic and good boxes, as you said too.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a great time playing there, made some money, which is always a great way to start the trip. We played a little slots before we headed back to the VIP desk to try to get our rooms.
I dragged Chris over to the Palazzo High Limit slot room.
He did.
And we did our thing where we pool our money. And, I'll put in $1,000. Chris will put in $1,000, and we don't pool it and we play one machine. We'll play two machines, but then we just split the winnings or losses.
To be fair, this was probably the first time that we split it for the weekend out of maybe 15 times. And Josh refused to actually get any large wins
until
when we were pooling. And then usually what would happen is the money would run out and Josh is like, I'm going to keep playing if that's okay. And I'm like, yeah, I guess sure. And then he'd hit a $7,000 hand pay. I call bullshit.
I'm always careful to point it out and document it so that if that happens,
no lawsuits have been filed yet.
Chris could say, I'm in for another grand, but that's your own fault.
I don't really want to play slots, so is the difference. Josh does, and we're going to talk about this. This is a recurring theme of the whole weekend. But yeah, so we played a little slots. We headed back to the front desk to get our keys. Josh, your room, we hadn't received a call. They said they'd call us when it was ready.
Yeah.
We got to the desk, walked all the way back over there. Josh's room was finally ready. And at this point, it was what, 4:30?
Yeah, it was. It was about, I'm going to say 4:30, something like that, right? And Chris's room, my room was supposed to be ready, as I said, at 2, and yours was supposed to be ready at 4. So mine was about 2 hours delayed. We're getting hungry. We've got our show coming up. It's time to get going. So we got the keys for my room. Chris and I went up and Chris stored his bags in my room. And you kind of wandered by your room because we were on the same floor and you saw yours was being already serviced, right?
Yeah, I swung by mine and they were actually servicing my room as I went by at that point, allegedly. Josh ended up ordering some room service. I was like, well, I'll get some food too before we go to the show. I waited a little bit and then at like 4:30, 4:45, I was like, Josh, I'm just going to wander down to my room. It had been an hour since I checked that they were servicing it. I was like, I'm sure they'll be done soon.
Right.
And then I can just get straight in because I already had my keys to the room. I just couldn't go in yet because they were cleaning it. I sat in the hall, Josh, next to my bag on the ground for a solid 45 minutes and nothing. It hit 5:30 and I'm texting Josh, I don't know what the heck's going on, but it's still not ready. I'm texting our host like, look, I know this isn't your fault, but this is ridiculous. It's a 4:00 check-in time at that property. I had been there since 1 noon.
Yeah.
And still no room. We are well past it at that point. I'm growing extremely frustrated. She keeps apologizing, saying they're cleaning it. Eventually, I finally get a text and a call at like 6:15 saying your room is now clean. You can go in. And I did immediately, which was great. Unfortunately, it was too late to eat any food.
Yeah, you did food court, didn't you?
I walked down to the food court and got something real quick because we had a show coming up. So it really kind of messed with our dinner plans. It's the one negative thing I can at least point out from this weekend at Venetian Palazzo. That was a really bad way to start a trip.
Yeah, you didn't have any fun that afternoon. For me, it was more normal. I was able to have a nice room service meal. Now, one thing I will say is the room service meal, when I say nice, it wasn't particularly nice. It was, I love the fact that at Venetian Palazzo, you can do real room service. I still like eating on real plates with real silverware. And to me, that's a lot of the reason I do it is to have that experience. But the food that I had, pretty mediocre. I had room service a couple times and not too special.
I did too. And it feels like the quality seems to get worse each trip I come. I love room service because if you're traveling by yourself, especially, or you and I, when we split up for meals, it's the easiest thing to do because you can chill in your room, watch a show, and just wait patiently, and your food should come warm. The quality is just not there.
Mine was warm. I'll give it that.
The temperature is fine, but I've tried probably 6 or 7 different things off their room service menu, all the way from low-end stuff like cheeseburgers and chicken tenders up to lasagnas and steaks. And I have not been impressed by a single thing that I've been served.
The one thing I had that I did like was their tomato bisque soup or whatever it was really nicely flavored. But yeah, other than that, I mean, it's kind of what I used to expect from room service, which is just a pretty average meal that usually you're paying too much for it. But at a nice property, you know, I guess I'm spoiled. I guess we're spoiled by the quality of the food that we've had at Wynn.
Sure.
And it's just, this wasn't quite frankly that. This was kind of dinerish type level quality, in my opinion.
I agree. So we stayed at Palazzo this time because the suites at Venetian weren't available. They're all closed for remodeling right now. Josh, what did you think about the Palazzo suites that we stayed in?
So they are a little more modern than Grandma and Grandpa's rooms at Venetian, but not
early 90s
much,
modern,
right?
yeah.
My room still did have a DVD player, so I had the DVD player. But so Chris and I both had kind of, I don't remember what they're called, Grand Lux Suites maybe or something at Palazzo. Mm-hmm. So I'm going into my room, you enter and there's a really nice kind of dining entryway area with a big table. And then you go into a sitting room and then there's another bedroom, a separate bedroom and a bathroom that wraps around. So I'm walking through the bathroom and there's another room. There's a mystery room, which I thought was maybe going to be a massage room like I had in that one suite at Wynn. Well, it
could have been that.
Yeah, it could have been that. There's an elliptical in it.
Yep, there was one in my room too.
I've never had an elliptical in my room before.
I haven't either. Did you use it while we were there?
I did not use it. I did press the power button and it didn't power on, so I don't actually know that it was working. Did you use yours?
No, I did not. But it did work.
Good.
I can tell you that. It did turn on. Because I was about to do it one time and then we had a change of plans.
One other thing, Chris, I wanted to say about the room is let's talk about the shower. Okay. I think the shower that I had, which I think is the same as the one that you had in your room.
It was.
Probably my favorite hotel shower I've ever had. Maybe second to the room I had at Harvey's at Zorkfest last year in Lake Tahoe, which was phenomenal because of the view. But this one had your regular shower head, and then it had 3 horizontal jets that you could turn on at, high, medium, and low positioning vertically. And to take a shower with those on and then the overhead shower, great water pressure. That was truly the highlight of the trip for me, except for the money part.
Yeah, I think it's a great shower. I can't complain. It's got 5 shower heads, like you said, total. It's extremely powerful. Little too strong for me. It felt like it was taking some paint off.
Chris said he was getting the paint taken off. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit like that. But yeah, it is. It really is a great shower. At first, I thought it was a steam shower with that many heads in there.
Right.
And then I realized it was just a normal shower with a bunch of additional heads you could use. But yeah, it was really nice. I did appreciate that.
Truly, Chris, we haven't talked about this. It's going to make me stay at Palazzo. I'm going to ask our host for that same room next trip. Like
okay.
I want to stay there again.
It's the little things for you, Josh.
It is.
So, Josh, overall, what do you think Palazzo versus Venetian?
So I'm really happy with the Palazzo side.
Okay.
I mentioned the shower. That's a big enough one to push it over the edge for me. I also like kind of being able to go down and being in a little bit smaller casino area.
Okay.
Having I like the high limit room there a lot. Obviously, we're really happy with the crapless table in the high limit room. I also like the video poker bar there. That's a really nice space. It's pretty dead in the mornings, and there's not there aren't dealers in there in the mornings. They don't really come in until noon. But there's a bartender at the video poker bar there, so you have that. And Chris and I talked many, many times this past weekend as we were going from one to the other. That walk from Palazzo to Venetian is easy. It's a good little break. There's a Starbucks in between. Yeah, those are my thoughts. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I like Palazzo. I talked about it when I went there the first time. I think it's a really nice place. You have a Starbucks at the ground floor of your elevators as soon as you come off, which is really nice. It's open at 6 a.m. So in the mornings, I would go down first before Josh get in line because they get a line at like 5:45 waiting for it.
It's true. Chris was in line every morning for me.
And Josh would come down and join me in the line once I already had established our position. But no, I do like Palazzo, Josh. The dealers over there are growing on me a little bit more. I still prefer Venetian main floor dealers over Palazzo main floor dealers. I think they're better. But that Palazzo high limit, especially now that you've decided you're a slots player, it's a great space. It really is. It's a cool space. Service is great in there. The video poker bar we'll talk about in a little bit was great too. Yeah, it's a cool area.
Yeah, it really is. So fast forwarding Friday night, we went to see Lewis Black.
We did, which I'm so glad that we changed our trip specifically for that.
Yes.
That was the impetus for us switching from Wynn to Venetian. was because Lewis Black was going to be at Venetian. We knew we could get tickets.
Yep.
Our host provided us with third row seats, Josh?
Yeah, they were fine seats, a little off to the side, not as centered as we had for Lady Gaga, but
No, this wasn't as premium, but quite frankly, the space that the performance was held in, there wouldn't have been a bad seat in the house. You could have been in the last row and it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah. What'd you think overall? So he had an opener whose name I can't remember.
I can't remember either. The opener was fine. I don't think he was great, but he wasn't nearly as bad as some openers I've seen over time. And I will say that he kept right to the time that he needed to keep to. He said he had 30 minutes. And when there was a clock in the back of the room we could look back at, and it was keeping track of the time of the event so far. And when it hit 29 and a half minutes, he was off stage and here comes Lewis. Yep. And so I really appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. And when Lewis went on too, it's somewhere during the act, he mentioned the time. I try and keep it to a crisp hour or hour 10. And you could see him occasionally glance up at that clock to make sure
he was out at the hour and 10 mark. He was right off. And I told Josh, I'd rather have a show like that where I know it's going to be crisp, it's tight. We're not just adding a bunch of fluff in it. But quite frankly, Josh, it was probably my favorite comedy show I've ever been to. Lewis Black has not lost a step in all the years. He's still absolutely hilarious. He commented on pretty much everything you would expect him to. If you don't like political comedy, he's probably not the right guy to see, but you should know that at this point about him. He hasn't changed, and at this age, he's not going to change.
Right.
He was just terrific.
Yeah, and he did a fair bit of his act that wasn't political. He talked about his Disney stuff. He talked about Vegas. He talked about the gondolas. Why in the hell would anybody do that? He talked about Walgreens sushi, all sorts of fun. It was a great show. It was a really fun show. I'm glad we did it. And fast forward to the next day, I ran into Lewis Black in the lobby. I was waiting for Chris to come down. He'd run up to his room for some reason. So I'm right there by the elevators at Palazzo, and I see Lewis Black kind of, I'm not great at recognizing celebrities, but for whatever reason, I picked up that it was him. And I said, Mr. Black, and he stopped. And I said, I just wanted to say, really enjoyed your show last night. Thank you. And he said, you're welcome. My pleasure, or something like that. Really nice. Went on his way. He was carrying a beat up old paper bag. So
yeah, I know. He wasn't dressed very nicely. He was carrying an old brown bag with something in it. He was very casual on the Palazzo floor.
Yeah, but really nice. So that was kind of a cool little extra, but it was a great show.
Yeah, I'm really glad that we did that. That was a lot of fun. So fast forward to Saturday, Josh. We started off the morning like every morning with some coffee dice. We met up with a couple listeners, so that was really nice. Do you remember who we met?
Well, I know we met up with Matt, and later on, I'll mention it now, just since we're talking about meeting up with people, I also met up with Eric and Andrew. So I think overall we saw Eric, Andrew, Matt, and then a couple others I didn't get names of, but thanks and it was most of the time, this was people that would come up to us and say, are you Chris and Josh, or are you Josh? And we weren't expecting these guys as far as I know. And so it was great. So thank you for coming to say hi, everybody. And I think we probably did okay for you.
Yeah, I mean, we had good sessions almost all weekend. I'm the only one that had a negative session, and it was without Josh, it feels like.
No, I had a couple at Aria after you were gone.
Okay, good. That makes me feel a little bit better.
But anyway, that first coffee dice session on Saturday morning, one of the fun things that I remember, Chris, is this is where I had my Phantom Heart 8. Do you remember that?
Oh, I do. And I don't know how it happened, but somehow it was a hard 6.
It was a hard. So I had my normal nickel out on a hard 8. And I think it was the point that was the 6. So somebody hit the point and it came hard. And they, not only did they pay me on the hard 8, but they parlayed it, I think.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. They parlayed it, and it proceeded to hit 2 or 3 more times on a bet that Josh had just never made.
Well, no, it was, I had made the hard 8, but it wasn't the hard 8 that hit.
No, it was the hard 6, and you ended up moving the 6 to the 8 when
Is that
the 8
what happened?
came down on an easy number. But it all started with a number that you just never took.
It
wasn't
never
on
there.
the table.
That's true.
There was
You're
no chip there. They're just like, pay him 2 1/4 or something. Pay him 150. And I was like, well, he didn't even make the bet.
And Chris, of course, didn't have anything there. And we both were looking at each other as this is going on. I'm like, what just happened here? Why is he giving me money?
Yeah, we were very confused by it. But it was a fun session. We had some nice dealers, really enjoyed ourselves. We were going to take a small break, and we said, why don't we play some video poker over at the Palazzo High Limit Bar while we're waiting for the crapless table to open at noon?
Yep.
Because that table always opens from noon to 8 is what it seems like. And we got over there probably 11. There was nobody in the area. None of the table games were open. We sat down at the bar. Bartender walked over, super nice.
Yeah.
Super nice guy. Had a great conversation with him. We just played some video poker at the bar. It wasn't going very well. And let's see what the video poker people think about this, Josh.
Well, hold on. Before you say, this was the one, I'll kind of lead into this. This was the one time where I was jealous of Chris's gambling.
Yeah, not
this
one
trip.
of the 57
the one
times
right.
that Josh actually did something much better than me. We're sitting at the bar. We're playing 3 or 5 line. I think it was 3 line.
I think.
Dollar video poker. So we were playing $15 or $25.
Double bonus, right?
Yeah, double bonus. We're sitting there. Nothing's really going well. And I get dealt a full house, but not just any full house. I get dealt a full house of aces full of 9s, I think is what it was. But the aces were definitely the full side. So I stopped for a second and I looked at Josh and I was like, Josh, this has got to be one of those hands where I keep the 3 aces and draw for the 4th instead of keeping the full house, right?
And so I checked the little cheat sheet that we have for double bonus poker. And sure enough, and I don't have it in front of me right now, but I think they're back to back in their Wizard of Odds rankings. And with the keeping the aces being 1 notch ahead of keeping the full house, I think, or could be 1 notch behind. Do you remember?
I don't remember. I think it's 1 notch ahead. But that being said, Josh and I have talked about this a lot. I will always go for the big draw in those situations. Like if there's a dealt flush and I have 3 to a royal in it, I'm always going to go for the royal flush.
Right.
The little hits are not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the big thing. Even the bartender chimed in at that point and he's like, oh yeah, you got to go for all 4, right? And so I choose my 3 aces. I discard the other 2. I hit draw. And what do I get, Josh? I get a 4th ace, and not just a 4th ace, a 4th ace with the kicker.
Right.
So I got the kicker of a 2, 3, or 4. So it paid $2,000 on just a random draw there for me.
It was super cool. I have not.
It was.
I hit 4 aces once this trip for 800, but not close to the 2,000 that you had, which was really fun. So we had a hand pay on Chris's video poker.
Yeah, that was something I definitely not experienced too terribly much. It was the biggest video poker hit I've had.
Right.
I've had some 4 of a kinds that paid like $12.50 playing on a $5 machine, but I hadn't had one that just made for an awesome session. I got all my money back I had lost on it so far. We tipped the cocktail waiter, very nicely as a result of it, just as a thank you, and because we had a great conversation anyways. It was just a great way to kind of chill before we got to go play some crapless again.
Yeah, in fact, I tried to tip him at the end, and he said, no, Chris took care of you.
Yeah, we're good.
Chris gave him enough. Yeah, we're good. So he didn't take my tip at the end. So that was nice. But yeah, then we went over to crapless, and Chris continued his luck with this fantastic roll. We didn't hit the ATS again, but Chris was, we have different, I'm sure everybody does this, but we have different ways to keep ourselves amused at the table. And so Chris all of a sudden started setting the dice.
Well, if you remember correctly, Josh, it was not going well.
No, we got to timing our rolls, didn't we?
Yeah, we tried the timing. That wasn't working. I was trying different sets. That wasn't working. And at one point, we were down probably $3 or $4,000, which was pretty significant. And we were getting ready. Josh is like, I just don't want to do it anymore because we'd had 4 or 5 bad rolls in a row.
I think I even said, didn't I? Let's go.
You said, let's go. And I said, Josh had just had a bad roll. I was like, I want to do one more. Is that okay? Right. And he's like, yeah, okay. I guess we'll do one more. Good idea that we did, because that roll took us from probably 3 or 4 down to probably 8 or 9 up.
Yeah, I think it was a huge turn.
Fantastic roll. Again, we didn't make the all tall small. If the funny thing was, I came out on a 12 as the point, which of course on a crapless table is horrible because the odds of making your point are low. But I never made the point during that whole time. But Josh, I had a solid 25-minute roll with just 2 of us at the table. It was fantastic.
Oh, it was a great one. I don't remember the exact, but we had the 11, I think, up to 500, or the 3 up to 500. We were hitting the extremes. It was a fantastic roll and a lot of fun. And Chris was like doing, setting the dice to midnight, so the 2 6s up, but then aligning the serial numbers on the dice.
Yeah, we had to make sure the serial numbers were aligned. Every time a dice would bounce off the table, I'd have to yell at the floor and watch him. It's like, you're not switching that die out on me. I'm watching you. And I'd watch him put it back on the table. Yeah, and it's stupid. Of course, we didn't think setting was actually mattering. We were just having fun with it. But that being said, a terrific roll. The crew made a ton of money.
That's what I was going to say too, yeah.
They had more than $50 on every number on the table. I know at one point, Josh, we were really hoping for a 3 to come because we hadn't seen a 3 for a while.
Right.
So I started throwing out a nickel on the number for the dealers every roll and just kept pressing the dealer bet by a nickel every time on the 3 because I needed it to come for some reason. And I think by the end of it, the dealers had $40 or $50 on the 3 before we had even done much. And I think it did finally come. But yeah, just a tremendous roll. We had a lot of fun. The dealers couldn't have been more grateful and thankful of what was going on because they did make a ton of money off of that thing. The box, Josh, I don't know specifically what he rated us at, but based off the point
I think
earnings,
we got rated really nicely.
I think we got a really good rating from that guy, and I hope we get to play with him again. But yeah, it was just an awesome session.
Oh, it sure was. I can't tell you how many times, not to kind of toot our own horn, but it's part of the reason we have fun is when the boxes say, you know, thanks for taking care of my crew. It means a lot. I think Chris and I get, just hearing that makes me, I could have a break-even losing session, but just thanks for taking care of my crew. You were great. It makes me feel so much better. And that's why I love playing and getting crews and boxes like that.
And keep that thought in mind because it's going to come up again on Sunday when I played without you.
And Chris, you were talking about rating. It's about this time on Saturday, maybe a little bit later, that I made diamond.
You did. And that became a running joke for the rest of the weekend. Every time we'd walk up to a table, Josh would be like, I wonder if they let Ruby players play at this table, if this is diamond only. Or you buy in and Josh would get his stack first and they'd be like, Josh would be like, oh, well, that's because I'm a diamond. Diamonds always come first. And then another diamond player would walk up to the table and I'd be like, oh, Josh, do you guys know the special handshake or anything? Right. And so it became a whole thing. And Josh kept wondering how it is he got diamond before me, even though I had an extra trip. And it's very simple. And it's the overarching theme of the whole weekend. Josh played a shit ton of slots, way more than any human ever should. And I'm convinced at this point, he's not even a craps player anymore. He's just a slot player.
Well, we didn't touch on it, Chris, but before you got there on Friday, I had played because I had about an hour or so. I played, and I think I hit one hand pay before you got there. So Chris gets there on Friday, and we had a little bit of free play associated with our trip. Yep. And we went to activate our free play in the slot machine. I had waited for Chris to use mine, and mine was there and waiting, and Chris is like, I got 0 free play.
Yeah, I was really confused by this. So I texted our host and I was like,
in
hey,
addition to him not
on?
having a room, he didn't have his free play either.
Yeah, didn't have either. And she said, I don't know what's going on. That doesn't make sense. You need to go by the rewards desk and they can answer the question. So I walked all the way over to the rewards desk while Josh is still playing. And they said, you need to go to the cashier. You're not coded as a slot player in our system. You're a table games player. So you have free bet chips. Josh is coded as a slot player because they have more predominant play out of him from a slot machine than they do on the tables. So it's so bad at this point. Not only is Josh just a slot player in my eyes, the casino even brands him as a slot player.
So Chris got his free play in free bet chips, which not nearly as good because they're play one time and they go away.
Yes. And it's like I told our host, that cuts the value of those chips in half. I don't want them. They're terrible. And I told her that, and she said, for the future, I can get that fixed for you. I'll just have to do some finagling in the computer. But that being said, yeah, Josh is a slot player. I'm a table games player.
I did play a lot of slots. We'll talk some more about that. But the fun thing that I wanted to close on the diamonds, getting to diamond status, which I think is Venetian's highest status. Maybe they have some secret one like chairman at Win or
Chairman's
something.
Club sort of thing.
But the other than that, it's so we go up to, I think it's the crapless table on whatever day it was, and I had my diamond card, and they like looked and, ooh, you made it. You transitioned to diamond. Oh no, they said you got promoted.
Fast forward, Chris did not hit diamond after the whole weekend together.
But you were so close. I tried to talk Chris into like, just throw $2,000 more into a slot machine. You can make diamond easy, and he wouldn't do it.
The difference is I don't care. It doesn't change anything for me. Next time I'm there, I'll get it taken care of and get the next status. But I know that is very important to you.
I'm happy with. We get our 4 gondola rides now, so we're taking.
That's true. We're taking
2, some patrons on the gondola.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. So Josh, you made diamond. We finished up our gambling for the day, and we went to Buddy V's Italian Ristorante.
Yes, this was as fancy as we got on this trip for our restaurants. So, Chris, overall impressions. What did you think of Buddy V's?
I thought the service was impeccable.
It was fantastic.
Service was really, really good. It was prompt. Everybody was extremely friendly. It's not the same level of service as like a Delmonico. They're not going to wipe the crumbs off the table for you and all that. But if we're just talking keeping drink glasses full and refills coming, The pacing of it was terrific.
Yeah.
We were in and out an hour and a half on a 4-course meal. I thought the pricing was relatively reasonable. You can charge it back to your room, which was great. The food is not like top-notch Carbone level Italian.
Right.
It's definitely a step up from like Olive Garden.
Yes,
So it's somewhere in the middle. But I thought all the food I had, Josh, was really good.
Yeah, me too. And I'll say kind of as a way to explain it, I had the rigatoni alla vodka with chicken or whatever it is, which is the dish that's similar to what I had at Carbone, which is the rigatoni alla vodka, but I don't think there's chicken in the Carbone one. But the difference is I think that the Carbone flavors are a little more distinct. Like it just really was, the flavors seem more refined. I'm not much of a foodie, but as much as I like the Buddy V's version or whatever the restaurant's called, it was really good. It just wasn't quite the same level of fully formed flavors, if you will, that Carbone was. But it was fantastic. I really liked it. Great meal, I would say, if you're just looking for something semi-casual, but still nice and good quality, good family restaurant. It was, as Chris said, I mean, it was real. The service was fantastic. It was pretty easy for us to get a reservation because we didn't have one. So yeah, nothing bad to say about it. Chris had the price fixed 3-course menu, I think, was really happy with that. I ordered just individually a la carte. It was fantastic.
Yeah, no, everything we had was good. And yeah, it's not as fancy as what you'd expect at a nicer Italian restaurant. For appetizer, Josh got some like cheesy garlic bread and I got some meatballs that we shared. So nothing over the top fancy. The entrees were terrific. We got a cannoli for dessert. Josh got something. I mean, it was really good food. It was reasonably priced, good pacing. I really liked it, Josh. I'd be glad to go back there again next time we go.
Oh, me too. Yeah, I'd do it easily. Really liked it.
So that wrapped up Saturday for us. You move on to Sunday. It's my final day in Vegas. But
Getaway day.
I was supposed to leave around 1 o'clock-ish. So I had plenty of the time in the morning to play some craps, do whatever Josh wanted to do. We started off with a crap session, Josh, it wasn't the best crap session I've ever had.
No.
But it's definitely the most points I've ever made at a craps table.
Yeah, Chris was shooting and he was hitting not a lot of numbers. You know, we place all the numbers or buy the numbers, and you were hitting, some, but no, we didn't get our bets pressed up that high. But he started all of a sudden just rolling points. And we were counting, and Chris is like, I've made 6 points already. I've made 7 points. I've made 8 points. I've made 9 points.
Yeah, I don't know what the final count was. It was at least 9. I think it was a little more than that.
It may have been, yeah.
And Josh is right. We weren't hitting a ton of box numbers. I was just kind of, whatever the point was, it was coming right back. I'd establish a 6, I'd make a 6. I'd establish a 5, I'd make a 5. I wasn't wasting any time. It was terrific. It was a lot of fun. I think everybody in the table was kind of in shock. So many points were coming.
Well, and Chris, I think you made so many points that because we were pressing our pass line bets as we went along, you and I both had our pass line bets pressed to $150 with full odds by the end of that roll. So, I mean, it was that crazy. We don't usually, it's very rare that I even get past like 75 on a pass line bet.
Oh, no. Yeah, we had definitely pressed it way up. It started to tail off at the end after that roll. Nothing else really exciting happened when we were doing it.
So after that session, it was getting time for Chris to leave, or what we thought was time for Chris to leave. So I had, thinking that Chris had to leave at like 10:30 in the morning, I had booked the night before a massage at Canyon Ranch Spa. My second time going there, I contacted our host, and this is a good thing to mention. I contacted our host and said, are you able to comp me a massage based on my play if I book one? So before I booked it. And she said yes. And then she told us later, I'm really glad you asked in advance because Canyon Ranch is a third-party spa, so it's a little more difficult for them to comp. So she was happy that I asked in advance. I was glad I asked in advance. She said yes, so that all worked well. And so I booked a massage for when I thought Chris was leaving. The only problem was Chris didn't leave when he was supposed to leave.
No, we were standing at the tables playing together, and like, Josh, I'm having a lot of issues with my flight. I kept getting text messages. Your flight's been delayed. Your flight's been delayed.
Was this United again?
This was United again. And it was getting to the point where the middle of the second flight, the connector flight, was getting so close, there was no way I was ever going to make it. So I started looking at options on my phone as Josh was shooting. Like, I was like, Josh, just play for me. I'm going to try to find a different flight. There were no other options on United for the whole day that were going to work for me. I started looking at Delta flights. Delta didn't have anything at that late moment that was going to work for me. I ended up having to book a Southwest flight that was going to leave at around 3 o'clock, I think, on a direct flight back to Louisville, which is great, but I don't particularly love flying Southwest. I ended up getting that flight booked, but Josh had already had to bolt to go get his massage, so we had said goodbye. And I was like, well, I got 3 hours to kill now. So I talked to my host and I was like, hey, I need a late checkout. And she's like, what time? And I was like, put me for 2 o'clock. And she's like, okay, no problem. I went back down to the crapless table at Palazzo High Limit to play by myself.
And got killed.
To see that crew and got destroyed. It was really, really bad. I don't think I had even the semblance of a decent roll. I colored up after losing not only a full buy-in, but a little bit more of a marker I took at the table. I had gone from being a guaranteed winner on the trip to being a loser. And I was like, I can't go out this way. Went out to the main floor, walked up to a table, Josh. There's a box at Palazzo. His name is Bill. He's an older gentleman, extremely nice. He remembered us from the day before. And when I walked up to a table, there was one table at a quarter that was empty. And he came up to me as soon as I came up to the table. He said, I just want to thank you for everything you guys do for our dealers. You guys are the best. Where's your buddy? I said, oh, he's getting a spa treatment.
Getting a massage.
And he's like, oh, okay. We said, I'm going to take care. He said, if you need anything, you just ask me. He goes, I'm going to bump the table limit up so that nobody tries to jump in and out on your table. I know you guys probably don't appreciate that. Without me even saying anything, he jumped it to a $50 table, which was really nice. It started off horribly again, Josh. I was down probably $6-7 grand at this point. Nothing roll wise was going my way. Rolls, a good roll was like 3 or 4 rolls,
right.
You know, I hit one number and then out. This guy walks up to the table. He's carrying a backpack, and any player that walks up to the table with a backpack, watch out. This person has a lot of money. That's pretty much the general rule I found in time. He ends up buying in for, I'd say 25, 30,000.
Okay.
And he's kind of sitting there watching me playing. And I eventually 7 out after another crappy roll. And he's like, oh, no, you can just keep shooting. He said, I don't shoot. So I was like, oh, no, I need this guy to shoot. Now I'm going to feel even worse. Right. He buys a couple numbers for like 1,000 each and puts a place bet out there. A couple weird things. I had maybe 5 or 6 rolls this time, but then out. And I cost him probably a good 5-10 grand. And I felt horrible. And he's like, okay, I guess I'll shoot. And I was like, oh, please, I need a break, obviously. Josh, he went on probably a 15-20 minute roll, just hammering number after number. I had numbers at levels I hadn't had them in a long time. I think my 6 and 8 were up to like 1,200 because he was repeating them so much. And you know how it is when you're at a table with somebody that's pressing a number aggressively and it's just you and that other person, you have a tendency to do what they're doing.
Yes. Yeah.
So like
I do that with you and you do that with me sometimes, right?
He took his 6 from 6 to 900. So I took my 6 from 6 to 900. It hit. He took it to 12. I took it to 12. It was a terrific roll. I made back everything I had lost that morning and then a few grand more than that. He colored up immediately after his roll, probably made 30, 40 grand.
Right.
And I rolled maybe once or twice more and it wasn't terrible, but it started trailing a little bit. So eventually I colored up. And at that point, Josh, I just said, I'm done. Yes, I was like 600 points away from making diamond like Josh did, but I wanted to make sure I left a winner. I had a good time. So I just said, I'm done for the day.
Yeah, I'm glad you did too. I had a good time at the massage. My massage therapist. So one thing I will say, I wasn't that keen on Canyon Ranch's layout the first time I did that. If you come from the Palazzo side, it's really nice. You kind of do enter into a spa area and it's less like that hospital academic feel I felt before when I came from the Venetian side. So if that's a deal to you, but my massage therapist had been at the Canyon Ranch Spa for 23 years as a massage therapist there. Oh, wow. So she was fantastic. And I finished my massage. Of course, Chris had just finished his session. So I don't think we saw each other again because I had to pack up and head off to Aria, but we got to say goodbye and I was glad Chris made back what he lost at the Crapless session for sure.
Okay, Josh, so that's a lot for people, a lot of stuff going on there. So let's take a quick break, and when we come back, let's see what's spinning on the wheel this week. Hey, podcast lovers, looking to elevate your show? Dive into Fiverr, the ultimate marketplace for freelancers. Whether you need stunning graphics, top-notch audio editing, or creative marketing help, Fiverr connects you with experts ready to bring your vision to life. With thousands of talented professionals at your fingertips, you'll find exactly what you need to make your podcast shine. Ready to take your show to the next level? Visit crapvegas.com/Fiverr today to get your next project started. That's crapvegas.com/FIVERR. Zorkfest 2024. It feels like it's only a few weeks away at this point. Josh, have you already packed up your bags? You're ready to go now?
I have mentally packed my bags. I am so ready, especially because on this last trip, you didn't drink enough with me. So I'm really looking forward to drinking at Zorkfest.
Okay, I understand. Well, that's November 1st through 3rd. It's coming up. It's at Horseshoe Las Vegas. And I know you were telling me about something pretty interesting that they just added.
Yeah, there's an additional add-on. It's going to be on Sunday, November 3rd from 10:30 to 2:30 after Coffee Dice with your very own Vegas Duffy. It's Ben's Big Deal and Geo Breeze Travel, which is Julia and Ben, invite all Points and Miles mobsters to the back room. This is a special add-on session at Zorkfest called Backroom Sessions, The Secrets of the Elite. It's a small group of Miles and Travelty loyalty people, and they're going to cover all the things the secrets that you don't hear about on social media, advanced ways to earn points that few people know about, the magic behind content creators, how they travel so much, how to get invited to tourism board trips and get paid to travel, all sorts of things like that. It really does sound interesting if you're into that. And of course, the Podcasters After Dark panel is going to be Saturday night. All sorts of fun. I'm really looking forward to Zorkfest. It's going to be a blast. Again, Chris, what are the dates?
That is November 1st through 3rd, 2024 at Horseshoe Las Vegas.
And I'm getting lots of questions about when I'm going to arrive and when I'm going to leave. If anybody wants to hang out, I'll be arriving at this point. I'll be arriving kind of early in the day, Friday, and I'll be staying on this trip all the way to Tuesday night or Wednesday. I'll probably move over to the Venetian after Zorkfest. I'll be staying at Planet Hollywood. Zorkfest, as Chris said, is at Horseshoe, but I'll be there until Tuesday or Wednesday over at the end of the trip, probably at Venetian.
That sounds great. So if you're ready to get signed up, that's travelzork.com/Zorkfest.
That's travelzork.com/Zorkfest.
Okay, Josh, they heard enough about our amazing couple days at Venetian together. There's no way we can get out of here today without the big wheel, and we're going at a slightly different time than usual. But why don't you go ahead and spin it?
Yeah, let's wrap up with the big wheel today.
It's time to spin the Crap Vegas Big Wheel. Are you ready? Josh, spin the wheel.
Oh, Chris, I like this one. You know, the wheel's always on the lookout for interesting trade shows and things that might be coming to Vegas. So coming up September 3rd through the 6th at the MGM Grand is the Self Storage Association Conference and Trade Show. Does that excite you?
Do you think there's a lot of like Storage Wars fans that come out to see that?
I was wondering if there'd be like seminars on how to auction off, the stuff when people don't pay their bills. There's one for maximizing success in self-storage and boat and RV storage. How's that for you? For riveting.
I mean, Josh, if I ever stop being an accountant, that's what I'm getting into.
Absolutely. The most creative name I saw for a seminar was Lean on Me, LEIN, Navigating Self-Storage Lien Laws.
I mean, as a lawyer, I'm sure you're super excited about that topic, right?
That was exciting. But really, the whole reason that I wanted to mention this trade show. So, I mean, if there's one thing I can say about the Self Storage Association Conference and Trade Show is it's going to be packed.
Can we insert a cricket chirping sound right there? I think that would make the episode that much better. So you take care of that.
That was the whole thing, was just to get to that. It was that punchline.
That was terrific. I can't believe you put that much work. And I must say, Josh, we have some listeners, especially like James, that I think would really appreciate what you're doing because they're big into improv. And you clearly are leaning into the improv in this segment.
I'm going to spin the wheel.
Okay, please do. Let me know where it lands.
I would. Probably won't be another bad joke. Oh, Chris, I don't like that one. I'm going to spin it again. Just a sec.
Good idea. That's good. How about this time?
Oh, this is one that, I mean, it's kind of an obvious one, just a short one, a way to say goodbye. So while we were at Venetian, Chris had a view of the Sphere. I had a view of Mirage and the volcano. And so I got to see it actually coming down the few times I looked out my window. So just wanted to use this as an opportunity to say the Mirage volcano is gone.
Oh yeah, it's pretty disastrous looking right now in the photos.
So, Chris, I can't remember. I'm sure we talked about it sometime. Are you in favor of the Big Guitar Hotel? Would you have rather they kept the volcano?
I'd rather both exist.
Yeah.
I think they could both exist and everybody could be happy. I hate tearing down iconic parts of Vegas. It would be like taking away the Bellagio fountains.
Yeah.
Or I don't know why it was on my mind a lot recently. I saw some photos of the original Treasure Island sign, and it made me think about how much I missed the Pirate Mermaid show out front thing, that whole thing that they did. I wish all that stuff was still around.
See, if they could have just taken, jacked the volcano up and moved it on an oversized truck over to the Neon Museum and kept the volcano, that would have been cool.
Well, I never would have seen it then, but I do wish that they both still existed.
Anyway, they just wanted to say goodbye to the Mirage volcano. Let's spin the wheel again.
Okay.
Oh, this is an interesting one, Chris.
Well, you wrote it. It should be.
It's gambling related.
And good.
So what's your definition of a stack?
Like a stack of chips?
Sure.
For me, I'd call that 20 chips.
All right. And if a die lands on a stack, what happens?
It's a no roll.
There we go. So this is something that came out of my experience at Aria. So for non-craps players, the stick person at a craps table oftentimes has chips in front of them that are used to pay the prop bets, the middle action, the center action, the hard ways and horn bets and things like that. And the more chips they have, the more people are likely throwing in chips and losing and things like that. So they may have stacks of different color chips. So what happens, Chris, if in the chips in front of them, let's say they have just one red chip and a die lands on it?
Oh, see, I would call that a roll because dice land on chips on the table all the time.
Right.
That's not uncommon.
And you are correct. That is the answer. But the dealers at Aria were joking about the fact that they had to send a memo saying one chip is not a stack.
Well, I mean, usually if it lands almost anywhere on the table, it's a roll unless it lands in the bank.
Right.
If it lands where all the chips are for the table, not necessarily what's on like the stickman stack.
But if it landed if there was a stack of 2 chips in the stickman's area, it would be a no roll because that's a stack. One chip is not a stack, but 2 chips is a stack.
I guess that is theoretically true. I'm surprised they had to send a memo out about that. But
that was the joke, right? They had to send a memo. 1 chip is not a stack. 2 chips is a stack.
Well, I will say when you're talking about properties with inconsistencies across dealers, Aria has the most inconsistencies of any property I've ever seen. And it's always in the same area. It's whether dealer bets that are on 4 and 10 get paid as a buy or paid as a place bet. And every dealer there is completely different. Every box is different on what they want to allow, how it gets paid. Some dealers will say if the bet comes down, I can pay it as a buy. If it stays up, I pay it as a place. Some always pay it as a buy. Some pay it as a place every time. There is no place in America less consistent. And every time it starts an argument between the dealers in the box. And I try to chime in and say, here's what you guys have said in the past, but every time it's different. So I have no idea what you guys are doing. So it doesn't surprise me that Aria would have to have a memo like this.
Yeah, you are exactly right. And that came up numerous times. We'll talk about Aria, my trip to Aria on the next show, but that came up numerous times on this trip.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Okay. Anything else on the wheel this week, Josh?
That's it for the wheel. And talking about my trip to Aria as a little tease, I did hit a 5-figure jackpot on one of the slot machines. My first time ever doing that. So we'll talk more about that on the next show.
Well, the next episode's going to be Slot Vegas because that's all Josh did after I left. So
pretty much.
Yeah, hang out for that.
And I did want to say, Chris, not Vegas related, but I was having a conversation with our daughter and I was talking about something and I said that this person had a lot of charisma. And she said, "What's charisma?" And I said, "Well, it's one of those qualities that, if somebody has charisma, it draws people to them and people are attracted." And she said, "Oh, that's like Riz."
Josh, I fight this battle every single day. I know more about brain rot language than anybody ever should because it's the only way my son talks. I have a 9-year-old son and everything is Skibbity Ohio, Riz. Oh, it's just, oh gosh. Yeah. It's just, I can't handle it. I don't know what the hell he's even talking about half the time. He doesn't try to explain. He even calls himself the Rizzler. So I mean, it's Josh, it's a thing, man. Just Oh, Lord. Our world is falling apart.
Our daughter was talking to one of her friends and she was giving advice for the upcoming school year. And she said, don't trust anyone, watch your back and you'll be fine.
That is good advice.
Yes.
But if you had to hear about your son being the Sigma over and over again,
I don't know what is the Sigma?
I don't even really. Josh, I'm not even going to try to go down that path because I don't know. I need to watch some TikToks and see if I can learn what the hell this language means.
There you go.
So talking about social media, Josh, why don't we tell people about Patreon? Patreon, that's patreon.com/crapvegas. What do we got new over there, Josh?
Last Patreon show, last CVP show, we had one of my favorite discussions and what I think is a lot of people's.
I think it's a listener favorite now.
It's becoming a listener favorite. You wouldn't think so. So as we're trying to get people to join Patreon, don't be discouraged by this. It's actually fun. The earnings call talk. So this was where I take some snippets from one of the most recent earnings calls from one of the big casino properties. In this case, it was MGM. And not giving investment advice or talking about why the properties think they're going to be successful financially, but just using a few clips to think about what they're thinking of about Vegas, what's on their mind about Vegas. In this case, MGM was really concerned with F1 and a lot of F1 talk. And so that was fun. We also talked about our Crap Vegas fantasy football league that's coming up. So all sorts of fun over on the Patreon side.
Yeah. And I'll even throw in, Josh, we are about to start our NFL Survivor contest. That's going to be kicking off in the next week. All patrons get a free entry into that. KCS patrons get 2 free entries into that. You have to be signed up by September 3rd. So when you're listening to this, if you want to take part, it's completely free to enter. Get signed up over on Patreon, and then you can get into that contest. And Josh, we've almost doubled the prizes this year. There's going to be more than $400 in cash prizes available for those playing.
That is super cool. So if you are not already a patron, please do come on over and join us on Patreon. We have 2 levels, our base level and our KCS patrons who get to see the unedited video feed of this year's show. And all our patrons have access to an ad-free audio version too, if you don't want to hear about our great sponsors.
Yep. So big thank you to those that signed up the past 2 weeks. That's Andrew C., who's a KCS patron. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Corey, Barry L., Alex A., 7 Out Line Away. Josh, our coveted annual KCS patron. Thank you so much for that. We do appreciate it. And Jamie C. So thank you. Everyone signed up over the past 2 weeks and get on registered over there so you can join our NFL Survivor contest.
Thank you guys.
Upcoming trips. Josh, you know that you're going back for Zork Fest in November.
Yep.
However, I'm still trying to get that trip planned. I'm going to say it's going to be a win trip, but I just don't know when it's going to be. I'm hoping for the end of September, early October. And we still got to figure out a November trip for our golf outing.
We'll get our golf outing out there.
Just stay on the lookout for those dates. They'll come out eventually.
Although, as a diamond at Venetian, I do have a choice of, I think, for some golf at Rio Seco. So, worst case scenario, we push this off to next year and we play with our patrons at Rio Seco.
Well, I'll have that same benefit soon, Josh. We could do a foursome there too.
That's, well, assuming you get there, you get to diamond.
I need 600 points and I have like 5 months to get there. I think we got this under control. If not, I'll send you my card next time you go and I'll let you earn it for me.
There we go. Perfect.
Friendly reminder to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcasting app and to visit our merch store. That's crapvegas.com/shop. As a small thank you to our listeners, we are offering 15% off all store purchases until September 3rd. We'll call it our Labor Day sale, Josh.
Perfect.
All you got to do is use promo code SAVE15. And all hoodie sizes are still in stock. I have a very small selection left of 2XL, but if that's your size, then definitely order very quickly. But Josh, anything else we need to talk about this week?
I think we've covered most of the topics already, so let's say goodbye to everybody. Goodbye, everybody.
Well, we appreciate you all. Goodbye, and we will talk to you next week.
Bye-bye.
Vegas, here we come.
Thanks for listening to the Crap Vegas podcast.
Have you ever been to Vegas?
Check out all our recent news and our Vegas trip calendar by visiting crapvegas.com.
See you in Vegas.
Oh, we had to answer the question. I forgot what the question even was. Okay, here we go. Okay.
I think that the shower that we had, I shouldn't say the shower that we had. The shower.
So did we share it? What do you... Breaking news.
Oh, Chris, I like this one.
As if you didn't know it was going to land there.
did hit a 7? Is it how many figures?
A 6-figure. Or no, you had a 5-figure.
I had a 6.
You hit $100,000 jackpot.
Oh, okay, I had a 5.
I'll say, what are you? You've been bearing the lead the whole time. Okay,
Chris, we can't wrap up yet.
we have to. Why?
We haven't talked about Patreon.
I'm about to. That's what I was about to say. You cut me off.
Computer, how many entries are there for Darmok?
47.